What's up everyone and welcome back to the MMA Zone. Today, let's get started with Jorge Masvidal vows to become a UFC champion soon. Despite being on a 3-fight losing skid and a few charges stemming from an altercation outside of the octagon also hanging over his head, Jorge Masvidal is still on the warpath for a potential title shot. Gamebred hasn't fought since March of this year when he dropped a decision to Colby Covington in the main event for UFC 272. That, coupled with his back-to-back losses to now former champion Kamaru Usman, means Masvidal hasn't had his hand raised in the cage since 2019 when he beat Nate Diaz for the BMF belt. But Masvidal is no slouch and understands that he's not very far away from a potential shot at the new champ, Leon Edwards, given their history and Masvidal's name. Masvidal and Edwards had a backstage encounter back at UFC London in March of 2019 when he delivered a 3-piece and a soda to Edwards. This past weekend, Edwards became just the second UFC champion from the UK after he knocked out Usman with a beautiful left high kick to the head in the final minute of the final round. While Edwards will likely have to rematch Usman again, if he gets past the Nigerian Nightmare once again, there is the possibility that the UFC could slot in Masvidal against Edwards given their backstory and Masvidal's name recognition. Masvidal seems to know this and stated as such in a recent tweet. "I will be the welterweight champ of the UFC soon." However, Masvidal still faces felony battery charges in connection with the incident weeks after UFC 272 this year involving Covington outside of Miami Beach restaurant and could face prison time if he's found guilty over that. But if things break his way, who knows? He could be meeting the welterweight champion within the next 12 to 18 months. What do you think about Masvidal's comments? And do you feel that he would be in line for a potential clash against Edwards if he gets past Usman again, or if Usman cannot make the rematch for whatever reason? Conor McGregor likely to return in 2023. It looks like Conor McGregor won't be ready to enter the octagon until next year, as per his manager Tim Simpson, who recently spoke with MMA Junkie about the Notorious One's return. McGregor hasn't fought since he broke his leg against Dustin Poirier in the trilogy bout last year. McGregor has been taking his time with his recovery, and while he isn't scheduled to fight anytime soon, speculation was that he would return this summer or this fall at the latest. But now, according to Simpson, that timeline is being pushed back a bit. This is what he stated to MMA Junkie in a recent interview.
Still on track for a big return next year, but yeah, this fits in perfectly in the meantime. Yeah, the leg is still healing. I think there's a little bit more to go on that, but he's been training like a madman twice a day, every day.
McGregor training twice a day isn't very surprising given that he's already packed on a lot of weight through his lifting. The guy looked massive just a few months ago. With him being out of action for over a year now, there is the specter of ring rust in his return. Some say that's not really going to affect him, while others believe that this time away from the cage and his recent skid of dropping 3 of his last 4 fights since 2018 does weigh on a fighter. But what do you think? Do you feel McGregor will return good as new next year? And who do you want to see him fight in his return bout? Leon Edwards credits his coaches for pushing him when the chips were down. It was like a movie. Leon Edwards' body language going into that last round of the main event at UFC 278 this past weekend in Salt Lake City was that of a man who was just depleted. He looked like he had little left in the tank. Even Dean Thomas, a trainer who was part of the broadcast for UFC 278 this weekend, stated that Edwards was broken and couldn't look his trainers in the eyes in the corner, which is what made what happened just a few minutes later simply incredible. Edwards dug deep and threw a well-timed combination to land a high kick to Usman's head, sending the champ to the canvas. In that moment, Edwards knew that all the hard work had paid off and that he met the champion in deep waters and came out on top, taking the belt from the Nigerian Nightmare, a man who had been lapping the welterweight division. Edwards got sweet redemption, not just against the naysayers who criticized him, but also against Usman himself, who was the last man to beat Edwards all the way back in 2015. Now, days away from the ecstasy of the biggest moment of his career, Edwards looks back and admits he was incredibly fatigued. He credits his coaches for pushing him just before the final round to get in there and do what they know he could. This is what he told Ariel Helwani about it this week.
I was feeling sorry for myself. I was feeling like, I started to explain it. I wasn't sorry for myself. I was thinking, like, there's no way this is playing out like this. It's a freaking head, like, there's no way I can let this play out like this. And so I think you could tell by my face, like, look, like basically what he said, like stop feeling sorry for yourself, switch on. Like
Edwards went on to talk about how the elevation of fighting in Salt Lake City, Utah certainly played a role in his performance, especially after the first round. In the first, Edwards got Usman's back and went for some submissions and clearly took the round, but he admits that he started to fatigue badly from that point on and he had to dig deep in the final round to be able to pull out the win. What do you think about Edwards' comments here? Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the MMA Zone to stay up to date on all the latest fight news. Paulo Costa says replays should be part of MMA. Paulo Costa got the job done against former middleweight champion Luke Rockhold in the co-main event at UFC 278 this past weekend. He needed a win, and he got one, as he was on a 2-fight losing skid, having dropped back-to-back bouts to champion Israel Adesanya and former title challenger Marvin Vettori, respectively. This weekend's win was no doubt sweet for Costa, not just because of the animosity between him and Rockhold, but also the fact that he was able to retire Rockhold. But Costa is not happy at all about an apparent infraction he feels was not warranted. He posted on Twitter after the fight some screenshots of the bout, a portion in which Costa apparently hit Rockhold with a low blow and gave him some time to recover, about a minute and a half. Costa feels that that was not the case and stated in a tweet that he feels the UFC, or MMA in general, should employ instant replay for judging in these cases. This is what he stated. All jokes besides, I need to point this very important. I'm enough of UFC and MMA shows need to use VAR, video assistant referee, to stop this cheating. I knocked him on body shot. It's so clearly same thing against Romero. This need to change ASAP. And then he made this tweet where he talks about the Yoel Romero fight from back in 2019. Exactly the same. The referee, in addition, non-finished the fight by TKO KO, gives us till 5 minutes to cheaters coming back to still fight after body shots knocked out. It's unclear what's next for Costa as he now gets back in the win column, but did admit that this was the last fight on his current UFC deal. What do you think about Costa's comments, and do you think there should be VAR in MMA? And do you believe Costa will re-sign with the UFC?
Khamzat, you ain't gonna kill me unless you kill me.
Diaz, let's go, brother. Let's see who is the real gangster.
Conor McGregor doesn't think family should be near the fights following UFC 278. Conor McGregor has had some epic moments in the octagon, and many times they include his family joining him in the cage afterwards. But when things don't go your way in a big-time fight, especially on pay-per-view with millions watching, your family gets to be part of that experience as well. This past Saturday, Kamaru Usman, the now former welterweight champion, had brought out his family to Salt Lake City to check out his fight. He looked like he was ready to get his hand raised with a decision victory until the last minute of the final round, when he was knocked unconscious by Leon Edwards with a high kick to the head. The vicious kick took place in front of Usman's family right there to witness the whole thing. MMA reporter Mike Bond stated that he saw Kamaru's daughter in a state of distress immediately after. Case in point, this is what Mike Bond originally tweeted. Just witnessed Kamaru Usman's daughter get carried out off the arena floor by one of his team as she bawled her eyes out. That was a sad sight. And then, this is how McGregor responded to that tweet. I feel this deep. I do not suggest bringing family whatsoever, especially the children. This is different fighting. I've done both sides of this and feel going to the mission solo is best. You can see family again post-battle. We'll definitely be continuing this way going forward. What do you think? Do you agree with McGregor here? Or do you think the opposite? Let us know in the comments. Today's video was packed with some juicy stories from the fight world. What are your thoughts about what's going on in MMA? Don't forget to smash the like button and subscribe to the MMA Zone to see more videos just like this. See you next time.